Alright, so let's take a look at the doors. At first look, if you just take the door and you put it at the opening, it fit pretty well. And that gave me some false hope, because after that, it all just kind of went to crap. So, let me get a different angle here, and we'll take a look at the parts of the door and the parts that don't fit very well, which is pretty much all of them. All right, so as I said, the actual outer door panel, it fits in the opening of the car body pretty good. So first thing I tried after I checked that was to put the hinges on, and as you can see on this one, I do have the hinges installed here, but let me show you what I had to do with that. First off, when you put the hinges in, they set on like that. But if you look at how those sit in here, and first of all, there's three little, there you can see them, three little points sticking up, one big one in the middle, and that sits over like that. The two smaller ones go into the holes of the hinge, and that kind of locks the hinge in position. However, the problem with that is if you put them on there, if you look at the hinge line, well, there's an issue with that. In order for door hinges to work, if you have two hinges, the hinge line itself has to be, this hinge line, that hinge line, they have to be straight, or else the door just won't open very well. It'll jam up, it'll get tight, or maybe not even open at all. So in order for these to go on with the hinges in a straight line, first thing I had to do was to remove the two smaller points, and basically just taking your blade and just kind of gently shave that off. There's one, and there's one here. I'll do the same with those down here, just to kind of take those off. Now, here's a really good safety tip here when you're using these blades. Very important. Use a dull blade. That way when it slips, like if you're cutting this way, and it slips and goes into you, you're not going to cut yourself as bad. So, I mean, yeah, it takes a little bit more force to actually cut the plastic here, but the money you save in bandages and the money you save in replacing that blade every time it gets a little bit dull, it's well worth it. There's been, I mean, I'm kind of joking here, but there have been several times where I slipped and the blade hit my finger, and I'm thinking, oh crap, and I look expecting the worst, and there's nothing, and it's because I had a dull blade. So anyways, shave those off, and now when we put these back on, you can see that it's free to move around a little bit more, which is good, because we need to be able to align these. So take something that you know is straight, something that you know is flat and straight, and put that on and clamp it. Let me get these here. There's one, and go ahead and put the other one on here. Put that on. And we'll clamp this one. All right. And so now with these both clamped onto a straight bar, pressed up against the edge with the hinge line, what that does is that puts the two hinge lines in a straight line. And then with those on, now those two hinges are in a straight line, and they're parallel with each other, they're flat and straight and true to each other. Now we can go in with the soldering iron, flatten those points down, and then go in with a thick CA around the corners here to really set them firm in place. And then that will give you those two hinges properly set in the door, as I have done on this one. So those two hinges are in a perfect straight line. And if we look at the door this way, you can see it's out a little bit here and a little bit here, which is okay. That will allow the door to open and close smoothly, properly, hopefully. But now the problem is, when we go to put it onto the car, those don't fit into the little slots that were provided for those to fit into, which they didn't in the first place anyways. So it's not that big of a deal. No matter what you do, you're going to have to modify those little slots where the hinges go inside of the car. Because if you just try to put them in without doing anything, just do it the way the kit is, the doors are going to be really tight, opening and closing. They don't close properly. They're all gapped up and crooked when they're closed. They open up at a weird angle, and it's a mess. So you got to start off with your hinges straight and true and parallel and in line with each other first. Then we can worry about the part on the car. Okay, so before I get to that, let me just show you the other parts to the door. The doors, the way the doors work, they are actually pretty cool. There's a lot of little mechanisms in for the handle. Let me grab some of those parts. We'll take a look at the latching mechanism. And I don't have the spring here yet, but the way this works is you take this piece here, which is metal, and that goes in here. And on the other side, presses on, not this one, the door handle. I'm not going to press that on that shaft yet because I don't know how easily it'll come off once I do that. But this is a stamped steel, I assume, handle that presses onto the end of that shaft here so you can open, close the door. So when you move the handle and it rotates that little cam here, that engages into this piece, which has little edges right here. Those edges, that goes this way over top of here. I don't know how well we can see that in the light. That's not too bad. But a spring attaches here to here. That spring keeps that forward. So then when you turn the handle, that cam pulls that back. So the spring latches it, the handle pulls it back. Now, I kind of trial tested all of this with the other panel on, and it falls apart, and it's, yeah, kind of off. So what I may do is cover that with a piece of plastic. I don't know, I have to mess with that a little bit better. More. This is the least of my worries. It's workable. We can make that work. So I'm not worried about this. Those parts fit. They seem to function. So we'll put those off to the side. Next thing I want to show you is the windshield mechanism. For the windshield, and this is actually pretty cool too. I like the way they did this. So you have the door inner panel. Get those out of the way. This is actually for the other door because I grabbed the windshield for the other door. But you have this metal frame that goes around the windshield. Now they put, as you can see, there's holes in the frame, and there were little raised points sticking up here and here. Problem is, the little raised points didn't match up with the holes in the frame, so I picked the one that fit better and I cut this one off, which is fine. That frame will get bonded onto the window panel just like this. And what I like using for clear parts, it's the same stuff I used for the cockpit windshields and windows on that Falcon 2000 Easy that I made. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and look at my other videos and look at the 3D printed Falcon 2000 Easy. But I use this. It's a UV curable glue. This end on it, you pull the cap off, there's a little nozzle and you squeeze out the glue, which is clear. And it won't set until you hit it with the UV light here. And then that will set it. And it's clear. And I was very pleasantly surprised on how strong that stuff is. But I will use that to bond this frame onto the window. It's catching up a little bit here, but there it goes. I'm sure the plastic will need a little bit of trimming to fit inside of the frame as best as it can. I don't need that on it yet. And we get two crank gears. One goes here, goes here. Now the instructions don't give you any details on the alignment of those, but the picture shows them looking like they're straight across. And there's a problem here. Let me show you. With the window on, and am I putting that the right way? Probably not. with the window on, as you can see how those gears move to roll the window up and down. There's a little bit of a problem because the slots here, and here, they're not long enough to allow those to spread out far enough for the window to go all the way up. That's as far up as it'll let the window go. So I'm going to have to kind of go in and Dremel out, grind out those slots a little bit longer here and here, because as is, that's as far up as the window goes, unless it just made a liar out of me. But what happened was that actually lifted up. That lifted up and let it move. Now, if I have the window up all the way, it pretty much locks it right there. It won't go down unless I let it twist up and then it moves. But yeah, that's a problem. Now, the way the window crank works, there's a little gear. This little gear, it's hard filming parts that are all black on black parts. But that little gear drops down in that hole right there. And where it pops out the other side, there will be a roller handle here. Of course, that's on the inside of the car. And as you turn that, it rolls the window up and down, which I think is pretty slick. Am I putting that on the right way? Hold on. No, it goes this way. Nope, I had it right the first time. That way. So as you turn the crank on the inside, if I can get a hold of it, you can. I don't have the handle on it, so it's a little bit hard to manage it, but you can roll the window up and down. But like I said, that's as high up as it goes until I open up those slots a little bit more. And of course, with the frame on it, of course the frame goes on the other side, but you get the idea. Pretty slick. I like it, but it's going to need a lot of work in order to run smoothly. Okay, now the other side of this gets covered in leather. There's a little door here that can open up that all gets covered in leather. The little window crank will go here, and of course the as we said before, the door handle on the outside here. So it's you know, it's kind of cool the way it all works. You know, I like the way the model has you able to roll the window up and down. It would just be better if everything fit properly, is all I'm saying. So let me put all this stuff away, and I'll give you an idea of what I'm going to have to do in order to make these hinges fit properly into the car body. All right, so as I was saying, they give you these slots here and here for the hinges to slide into. Now I've actually already opened those up quite a bit. I just took my my dull X-Acto knife and I just sliced those open a little bit further, because the way they were just way too tight for that door to fit any good at all. So if we just kind of take a look at how those go in, I apologize, I'm not really working this camera very well. But those slide in here, and here you can see with the door, the door open, you know, they slide in like that fairly decently, and they're supposed to get bonded in on the inside by using a soldering iron and melting the plastic around them, like we did on the other side. But right now, with it the way it is now, if we try to close that, we can see how horrible that fit is. I mean, that door is just twisted all to, yeah, okay, we can pull it out that way, and it's closed. It's really tight on the front and pretty gappy on the back. So what I'm going to have to do, and you can see the hinges already fell out of the slots here. What I'm going to have to do to fix this is cut out, let me see if I can get a better shot with this. Probably not. I'm going to have to cut out enough material here and down here for that tab of the hinge to just set loosely in there, and then build up from the back side with scrap styrene or some type of a something in order to bond those in, and then worry about fixing the looks of it later, if that makes any sense. I'll get more videos and photos of it as I go. But the way it is now, the door will not fit in the closed position with those hinges in. Let me just try one more time here. What I did was I closed the hinges, and if we just set it in here, as good as it'll go here. Actually, that's as good as it's been. Well, no, that door is in way too far. Yeah. Anyways, hopefully you can see the struggle. But I'm just going to have to open those up, as I said before. I know I'm repeating myself. But open those up. I just have to be able to get the door to fit with the hinges installed, and worry about the how big those holes are after the fact, and bond them in somehow. So let me do some more work on this, and I'll get back to you after that. Oh, and one other thing I forgot to show you. Sorry about that, the camera kind of cut out. But what I wanted to show you here real quick was the inner door panel, the way it sets on the outer door panel. Yeah, that's another issue. There's 3 screws that hold it in. There'll be a screw here, and one here, and one up here. Yeah, no, screw holes don't line up at all. You can get maybe 2 of them, but not the third. The one that has to line up is this one up front, because where that metal part comes out for the door handle, that goes all the way through that hole right here. And I don't have them line up very well, but that goes all the way through from the outside to the inside. So that has to line up, which will line up that screw hole here. But with that screw hole lined up, this one over here is pretty much just as bad as it's showing here. It's about 1/8 of an inch off. It actually sets about like that. With the front screw hole lined up, that's how the back one's lined up. So I'm going to have to extend that panel out a little bit. So yeah, anyways, like I said, the idea of these doors was cool. It was just very poorly executed. So a lot of work. Give me a couple of days to work on these doors, and I'll get back with you and see what they look like after a few more days worth of work. So I just realized how long this video is, and it's getting to be a little bit way too long. So I'm just going to end this one here, go ahead and get this one posted, and I'll get back with you in about a week or so with an update on the progress of the doors. So until then, as always, thanks for watching.